This world crumbled before her eyes. She had to start packing her things to leave the house. She went to the room her husband told her he kept important documents to see if she could find anything important, and used her husband's key to open the door. As soon as she opened the door, she screamed. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a maiden named Ngozi. She was a very beautiful lady who lived with her family. Ngozi was ripe for marriage but was very selective of men. She wanted a man who was very rich and could take care of her needs. Her parents warned her to desist from such behavior and to pick a nice, decent man to settle down with, but she was adamant and refused to change. Ngozi was dating a young man named Paul, who loved and adored her so much. She was not a materialistic person, and Paul was a strongly young man. Despite this, Ngozi was willing to wait for him to make it in life. Then all of a sudden, one of her girlfriends got married to a wealthy man. Their wedding was the talk of the town, and so much money was sprayed that even Ngozi took some without being noticed. She said to herself that she couldn't marry a poor man. The groom even gave her a big expensive gift on their wedding day. Not long after, another of her girlfriends also got married to a very wealthy man, and she vowed not to marry anyone below her class. Her friends changed and hardly wanted to hang out with her. She felt inferior around them because they always talked about things she couldn't relate to due to her lack of money. Determined to change her situation, she broke up with Paul. The young man had done nothing but love her, but she let herself be blinded by her desires for wealth. Paul pleaded with her to give him time, but she refused, saying it could not work between them. This broke Paul's heart, and he had to leave the village in search of greener pastures. Over the years, Ngozi did not marry, as almost all the suitors who came for her hand in marriage were too poor for her. One day, a certain young man named Oke came to their village. He was from a neighboring community and was introduced to her by her friend who had married a very wealthy man, saying he was her husband's friend. Instantly, Ngozi fell in love with Oke as he was so rich and buoyant. Anything she wanted, he got for her, and in her heart, she knew she had found the man for her. She informed her parents about Oke and told them he would be coming to pay her bride price. They asked her what she knew about the man, if she loved him, but it was of no interest to her. All she wanted was his money. She told her parents they would eventually love each other. They asked if she knew what she was doing, and she replied yes. They told her to bring the man for an introduction. Oke came with his people and did Ngozi's introduction. They made it so big that people began to wonder if it was a wedding. They whispered that if the introduction was this big, the wedding would be even bigger. They started wedding preparations, but one thing that stood out to Ngozi was the fact that her fiancé never gave her money. Instead, he paid for everything directly. She tried to find out why, but couldn't get a satisfactory reply, so she brushed it off. The day for the wedding came, and everything went very well. There was plenty of food and drinks, and her husband's friend turned up for him, spraying so much money that people were astounded. Ngozi joyfully went home with her new husband after saying goodbye to her family. She moved into her new home and was the most excited lady on earth. She couldn't wait to show off. Not long after, her husband assigned her a chef to make her meals, a laundry lady to wash her clothes, a driver to take her around, and a personal shopper. She was on top of the world, living a life of luxury she had never imagined. He even placed her parents on a monthly salary, which they cherished so much. Ngozi was very happy with all she was receiving, but noticed a few things about her husband. He did not treat her as a wife, but as a trophy, someone to take to important occasions. He hardly had time for her. She complained, and countless times he told her he was a very busy man. He asked her how she thought he made money to take care of her needs. She told her parents and they advised her to endure. They asked if she wanted a man like her ex who would give her all the love but no money. She remembered that she had made this choice for herself and decided to endure, hoping he would change one day. Ngozi noticed her husband was having an affair and confronted him. He slapped her and told her never to question him about his affairs. He said if she wasn't happy, she should go back to her father's house. The thought scared her because she did not want to become an object of ridicule. She decided to find a way to get money from him, no matter what. She told her husband she wanted to start a business, but without listening to what she had to say, he declined and told her if she was bored, he would give her personal shopper some money to buy whatever she wanted. She then asked him if he planned on caging her in his home, and he said no, just that he didn't need her working. He was working hard to ensure she was very okay. He bade her goodbye and left. She kept pondering how she would go about this and decided to come up with a plan to trick him into giving her money. She told him that her sister confided in her about some trouble she was facing in school and asked if he could give her money to help her. Instead, he asked her to invite her sister so he would personally give her the money. She said her sister would be embarrassed if she discovered Ngozi had told him anything and asked him to give her the money. He insisted her sister should come and he would give her the money with no questions asked, and he left her alone with her thoughts. She wondered if she would ever have access to his money. She once told her mother that her husband provided everything she needed but never gave her money in hand. Her mother told her that as long as he provided for her, she should concentrate on having kids to inherit all he had and not worry about whether he gave her money or not. One day, she asked him why a certain room in the house was locked and why she had no access to it. He said it was where he kept his important documents for his business and she had no business being there. She was surprised and confused at the same time. The strange thing happening in her home were very confusing to her. She kept living like a stranger in her own home, having to beg for practically everything from her husband. Her parents were not even on her side, which made matters worse. 5 years of living with a man who had now become a stranger to her, and not even a child to show for it. Years of soaking her pillows with tears for her husband as he began to threaten her about taking a new wife to give him children, which he obviously could not. No matter how hurt she felt living in that house, her parents turned a deaf ears to her pleas. She decided she wasn't going to live like this anymore and would do something about it. One day, Ngozi went into the purse of her personal shopper and stole money given to her by her husband. She saved it somewhere. It was a large sum and caused a lot of quarrels in the home. When she was with her husband discussing, he suddenly started shouting, "Please, please!" He fell to the floor, shaking and convulsing, and was rushed to the clinic. The doctors couldn't find anything wrong with him. They tried to figure out what was wrong with him, but found nothing. Not long after, he was pronounced dead. Ngozi did not know whether to be happy or very sad, as she wasn't really in love with her husband. It did not take long before he was buried, and almost all the workers quit because there was no one to pay them. Ngozi couldn't figure out how to access her husband's wealth, as all his friends she went to meet kept telling her that they did not have money. Her husband's partner told her he was in debt and she needed to leave the house as it was used for collateral. Ngozi's world crumbled before her eyes. She had to start packing her things to leave the house. She went to the room her husband told her he kept important documents to see if she could find anything important and used her husband's key to open the door. As soon as she opened the door, she screamed. She saw a calabash with her picture in it and a statue that was tied around her tummy. It dawned on her that she was the source of her husband's wealth and the reason she couldn't have any children. She began to wonder if the conditions given to her husband included not giving his wife money as something bad happened when she stole the money. She hurriedly left the room, packed faster, and left for her home. Her parents asked what the matter was and why she had returned to the house, instead of staying in her husband's house and fight for her right. She ignored them and went in. Later, she narrated her ordeal to them when she finished resting. They shouted as they never expected this. Her mother said, "I warned you. I asked if you knew him well and loved him, but you were so stubborn and adamant. Now, see." She regretted her actions and the mess she found herself in, all in the quest to marry a rich man. Her parents informed her that Paul had returned the previous week and he had made money. She was shocked and decided to go see him. When he saw her coming, he offered her a seat and asked if she was alright. She narrated her ordeal and he sympathized with her, offering to help her with some money for old time's sake. She wanted to profess her love for him, but he stopped her and told her nothing could ever happen between them. He said he was giving her money because she had come up with the idea for a particular product which he had the opportunity to develop and made a lot of money selling it. He invited her to his wedding coming up next week, and she wanted the ground to open up and swallow her. For months, she was a shadow of herself, not talking to anyone as she wallowed in shame and regret. She picked up the pieces of her life and started a business with the money given to her by Paul, using it to sustain herself. No one came for her hand in marriage after the rumor that she had been used by her late husband for ritual spread. She lived a lonely and miserable life, always praying to turn back the hands of time to make better decisions, but knowing she could not. People used her as an example to teach their children not to make the same mistake she made. The end. Lessons to be learned from this story. Ensure you don't let peer pressure lead you to make wrong decisions that could affect your life. Make sure you know the source of your partner's wealth before you marry them. Remember that all that glitters isn't gold. Do not determine the state of one's future by the present, but know that one's future can be bright.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Please click on the subscribe button to support us. Turn on the post notification to get notified when I upload a new story. Like, share, and comment your thoughts. Till then, bye.